It's recording. The sign says Silver Lake History Collective. We're interviewing Mr. Jim Taylor on 4/24/2008. Interviewed by Virginia Jimenez and Bob Herzog. And I'm on camera.
That was Bob Herzog, by the way.
Okay, let's see. There she is. Okay, and Virginia will be conducting the interview. And here's our subject.
Okay.
Now, do you want me to look at Virginia or look at the
Yeah,
camera?
you look.
Look at her, and I will. When I make a comment, then you can look at me, and that way we get all of the angles of your face.
But you couldn't even pretend that there's no camera. You know,
Yeah.
we're just like chatting, having a conversation, and
Very good.
the only thing is that when we put it together, our voices might not be in the video. So when we ask you something, if you can answer like in a complete thought, and so that your answer stands by itself without a question.
Very good.
That would be great. Well, thank you, Mr. Jim Taylor. Thank you so much for your time today. Can you please, just so that, to make sure that it's on the record, tell us your name with spelling?
My name is James Taylor. James is spelled James, and Taylor is spelled Taylor.
Okay.
Not the singer-musician, by the way.
No.
If I could only play the guitar.
Okay, Mr. Taylor, thank you. Tell us a little bit about yourself, about your background, where you were born, where you're from, and a little bit about your family.
I was born in Los Angeles 81 years ago. My family were early Los Angeles residents. My father came to Los Angeles as a 6-year-old boy in 1900. My mother came to Los Angeles about 1911. We lived on what was called then the west side of Los Angeles. Went to school in Los Angeles. Public elementary, junior high, senior high. Went to UCLA for a bachelor's degree, and then to USC for a master's degree, and obtained a doctorate from Pepperdine University.
Okay, so what do you do when it's UCLA to USC?
Oh,
Who do you root for?
UCLA.
Traitor.
Okay, so let's a little bit more on your parents. Where do they come from?
My father was born in New Orleans, or sometimes they call it New Orleans. My mother was born in Atlanta, Georgia.
And what did they do?
My father was a mail carrier, a letter carrier. My mother was a homemaker.
And tell me about like how many siblings or.
One brother, one sister.
And where were you?
I was the youngest.
Tell me all of that again, but just as if you were telling me.
You know what?
Okay, so the weather was so beautiful, so we decided to enjoy it and do an outdoor interview.
Typical Southern California living.
There you go. Thank you. And that helps the lighting also. Okay, so we're going to start again, and if you can tell me what you just told me, what you told me before, but tell it to me as if you were just telling me a story, like you know, not just answering questions, but just telling me. I don't know anything about your background, so let's start again with your name again, and then you tell me where were you born, where are you from, and where are your parents from.
You know, we already have all that on tape.
But with the lighting?
It doesn't matter. Oh, you want? I see.
Well, in case we use that for.
I'm sorry. You're absolutely right.
Okay.
Pardon us.
My name is James Taylor. I was born in Los Angeles some 81 years ago. I attended public schools in Los Angeles, elementary, junior high, senior high. I went to UCLA as an undergraduate. I did graduate work at University of Southern California, USC, and took a doctorate from Pepperdine University.
Great. Now, tell me about your parents. Where were they from? Who were they and where were they from?
My father was born in New Orleans, but came as a 16-year-old to Los Angeles, arriving here about 1900. My mother was born in Atlanta, Georgia, came to Los Angeles about 1911, I think, somewhere in there. They were early Los Angeles residents. My father was a mail carrier. My mother was a homemaker.
And they met in Los Angeles,
Yes.
and then they got married and started a family. And tell me about who that family is. How many kids?
I have an older brother. I had an older brother and an older sister. We grew up on what was then called the west side of Los Angeles, very near the University of Southern California, about a mile from the University of Southern California. They too attended public schools here in Los Angeles.
So you were the baby of the
I was the youngest of the family.
Okay, and tell me a little bit about your life growing up with them.
We were fortunate in that my father, as a mail carrier, had a very steady job. And I remember the early years of the Depression. Again, we were among the fortunate families because we weren't wealthy by any means. And yes, I had the Sunday shoes that I only wore on Sunday, but I had shoes. We lived in a very mixed neighborhood, mixed in terms of the racial and ethnic origins. We had African Americans, Japanese, a large Japanese population, a few Mexican Americans. It was a time in the early 30s when there weren't very many Hispanic people in the area, but we certainly had some. And it was a nice time to grow up. We enjoyed, I think, our childhood very much.
Okay, so until what time did you live in that area? And tell me about the decision. When did your parents decide to move out of that area?
My parents never moved out of that area. Well, they bought their home somewhere around 1928, and they lived there until my father's passing, until my mother's passing.
Oh, okay.
I'm the one who moved out.
Okay, so tell me about, I don't know if there's something else you jump in, but tell me then about when did you move to Silver Lake, and how did you find Silver Lake, and why did you make that decision?
In the middle 1950s, my wife and I and family started attending the Mount Hollywood Congregational Church, which is near the corner of Hollywood and Vermont. And at the time, work took me to the San Fernando Valley. So it was always a nice ride on church Sunday morning, and it was then a nice ride to work Monday through Friday to the San Fernando Valley. After some years at attendance at Mount Hollywood, we decided we'd like to move into the area. Not only would it be closer to our church, but closer for me going to work. We looked around, and in 1965, we saw this house where we are living now for sale. And so we moved here about 1965.
And before we go into there, tell me, your commute for your job and all of that, what did you do? You said you went to UCLA and then graduate school to USC, but what did you do? What job did you have?
I was in education. I was a teacher, and then I was a school administrator, and then I was a central office administrator.
Okay. What was your situation by the time in terms of professional success, or where were you at in your life when you decided to move here?
I was principal of John H. Francis Polytechnic High School in the San Fernando Valley, in the Sun Valley community of the San Fernando Valley.
Okay, so you decided your church brought you to this area, but
Yes.
how did you find this house?
We noted that the house was for sale. There was a for sale sign in the front, advertised by the Wolf, W-O-L-F-F, interesting name for Wolf, interesting spelling for Wolf, was for sale. And we made inquiry about it, met the representative, a charming lady, who showed us the house. We offered a bid and waited to hear from her. About 2 days later, my wife received a call, and we were told that we could not buy the house, that the owner was looking to other possibilities. I thought that was very interesting. I was a little bit suspicious, happened to mention it to a teacher at our school who knew something about real estate. And he said, well, I'll find out the name of the owner for you. He did. He found the name and the phone number of the owner. I called the owner and said we had made a bid and I was sorry that you were not interested. And he said, I didn't know you made a bid. And I said, yes, we did. We then inquired about the Wolf Agency, and we were told that Mr. Wolf did not want to be a party of the sale of the house to us because, and this was his word, he thought it would panic the neighborhood. So we began direct negotiation with the owner, and we purchased the house.
Oh my God. What was your reaction to that?
Our reaction?
Your reaction.
We were disappointed in that series of events. At a time in 1965, it was a somewhat infrequent kind of encounter, but it still did exist. That there were neighborhoods where minority representation was not particularly encouraged or appreciated. But we proceeded and we moved in, and actually things worked out beautifully. The neighbors were tremendously cordial. It was a wonderful street. We came with our 5 children, and there were already 15 kids on the block. So our 5 made 20, and they were ranged in ages from 4-year-olds. Nancy, our youngest, was 4 years old, and the next door neighbor had a son who was, I guess, 17. So now imagine 20 kids in that range on one long block. It was wonderful, just marvelous.
Wow.
Tell us the address.
Our address is 2064 Ames, A-M-E-S Street.
And we're in Los Feliz.
Well, we always like to say there are 2 Los Feliz. There's the North Los Feliz and there's the South Los Feliz. The beautiful mansions.
Franklin Hills?
No, well, Franklin Hills is even farther south
Okay.
of South Los Feliz. But the big mansion and magnificent homes are north of Los Feliz. And I always tell people, we live south of Los Feliz.
Do you recall what you saw as you went from that church and drove around the neighborhood looking for a home? Do you recall what you saw?
We saw a very much residential neighborhood.
Can you go back again and says when we look for our homes?
Mm-hmm. As we looked for a home, because we became identified with the Mount Hollywood Congregational Church, we drove through the neighborhood, saw it to be primarily a residential neighborhood of modest but well equipped, well managed, well maintained homes. I'm not quite sure I remember how we happened to turn on this street, which is a relatively short street and not very much traversed, but we did. And we saw the for sale sign.
Were there a lot of homes for sale at the time?
No. In fact, as we went through the neighborhood, I recall we were interested in one home on Tracy, and we were interested in this home, and those were the only 2 homes that I remember being for sale.
What did you pay for this house back then?
$44,500.
Can you say when I bought the house I paid?
Pardon?
Can you repeat that, just saying the whole thing?
When we made purchase of the home, the owner was asking for $45,000, and we offered $44,500, and he said fine.
And what is it worth today, do you think?
It would be between $900,000 and $1 million. Yeah.
Great.
Good investment.
Decision.
Yes, it
What
was.
kind of neighborhood? I mean, you had an experience of people's perception that it was not a diverse community at the time because you said
Racially not diverse, but ethnically and religiously very much diverse. Our neighbors on one side were Jewish. Down the street, a mixed couple, Asian, white. Another Jewish family on the other side of the street. So in terms of at least racial background, religious background, it was very, very mixed. Mm-hmm. Very wholesome, very wonderful.
So you never had any negative experience aside from the experience when you were buying the house? Or?
Not on this street, no. I suspect that the conduit for all of this wonderful kind of experience were the kids. They played together, they enjoyed each other's company, and it was just a very, very wholesome setting.
What do you recall about your life as a family? I mean, nowadays we do like set up, arrange play dates, and or the kids go with the neighbors. How was life for a family with 5 kids at the time?
I'd say the major difference in terms of looking at rearing children, okay? Young people today, it seems to me, in many, at least middle-class families, are so scheduled. They go to school, but they come home from school and they got to go to practice for Little League, or they need to go to ballet, or they need to go to this music lesson or that music lesson. And I don't begrudge any of those things. They're fine experiences. But I think kids today lack the opportunity to be creative. You say creative? Music, ballet? Creative in saying, hey, there's nothing that's prescribed for you. There are no computer games for you to play, anything like that. Just go out in the yard and play. In that context, and I guess this is why I remember this street so favorably. Our kids came home from school, they went out in the street. It was not a heavily traversed street. And they went out and they played. And they invented games. Mm-hmm. And I'd say that's a major difference. Now again, I'm not saying that the circumstances now are less favorable than they were then. But I think there is a major difference.
Yeah. Describe to us your typical day in the neighborhood. I mean, did your kids go to the local schools? What schools? And would you go pick them up and all of that?
Now that's interesting that you say, did you go pick them up? One of the major differences in the 1960s when we had kids then in the elementary school, Franklin Avenue, in the junior high, Thomas Stark King, and in the senior high, Marshall High School. So nobody drove their kids to school. Well, nobody. Somebody drove their kids to school. But our kids all walked to school. And the neighborhood kids all walked to school. That was a major difference.
Right. Now, in terms of your shopping, mm-hmm. like what did you do? What are your memories from going to local shops or markets?
I remember my wife's favorite neighborhood store was called The Hub. And you know where Trader Joe's is located now in Hyperion? That store was The Hub. And it was across the street from Mayfair, major market. But for some reason my wife liked to shop at The Hub.
Was the Mayfair always called the Mayfair?
The earliest memory I have of it is Mayfair. Yeah.
Okay.
Then of course it changed. Something between Mayfair and Gilson. What was it? No, shortly. In terms of shopping, Hyperion at the time was not nearly as many shops and stores as there are now. We occasionally shopped on Los Feliz, on Vermont. And that was the major.
How about major purchases like clothing for the kids and yourselves?
We were a Sears family.
Sears on Santa Monica Boulevard?
Sears on Santa Monica Boulevard. Yeah. In terms of budget, it was probably the best approach.
Great. Now, how about what did you guys do for recreation as a family, and how did Silver Lake fit in that?
We were a parks family. We were so grateful that Griffith Park was so close, and we frequently took advantage of that. We were also a camping family, so that with our tent. I have to tell you about our tent because it's a big difference. We had a 3-room tent. Now, that may sound great, but it was really about 7 feet by about 15 feet. And then inside there were curtains that dropped, so you get the 3-room effect. And we loved to go to the state parks. There were at least 12 or 15 state parks over the period of years when we were camping. That was until our teenagers got beyond the stage of liking camping that we visited. So that almost every summer we camped somewhere. Not long camps, maybe 5 days, maybe a week. But that was one of our major recreation activities.
Nice. I love camping too. So what do you think? What do you think makes Silver Lake special? Do you think it's special?
I think one of the things that makes Silver Lake special now is the diversity, not just in terms of people, but in terms of lifestyles, in terms of activities. I wonder if there are many communities that are as rich as that in terms of being able to provide to its residents such a wide array of people to see, things to do, things to buy, places to eat, that sort of thing.
Can you give me like details and like you say lifestyle? Like what, give me examples.
And I'll go back maybe more to the 1970s, 80s. Very much family oriented. Characteristically, families with more kids than families have today. And I don't say that begrudgingly. We have 5 children. My wife always used to say, we were a planned family. We just didn't know who planned it. But I always felt that it was a community in which we felt so safe in rearing our kids. There is the saying that a child is raised by a village or something like that. We didn't, I don't think, have quite that atmosphere, but certainly it was a community in which people seemed to have regard for the welfare of others, to the point of acknowledging the fact that there were children and that we all were concerned about their welfare. It was a family, it was a community that was always well maintained. People took pride in their homes, and the streets were always in good condition. It was a pleasant community in which to live, and continues to be. I keep looking back, but that's one of the characteristics of old age. You look back too much sometimes. But it was a wonderful place to live.
Did you ever use public transportation?
I didn't. Don't think my wife did. I don't think our kids had much occasion to use public transportation. Everything they needed was pretty much in the immediate area. Where there was a need for transportation, well, either my wife or I drove the car.
You drove.
So you say it was an ethnically diverse community, but not racial. So were you?
Not at the time we moved
Not
in.
at the time. So were you like probably one of the only African American families in the neighborhood?
We were,
And how did that?
we were the second one, as I understood. Yeah. There
Tell
was,
me the whole.
Well, there was a very prominent, at that time, vocalist named Sam Cooke, and very popular, and he lived in the neighborhood. Yeah.
No, if you can repeat that, but just say when we moved in, there were not.
When we moved in, we were the second racial minority on the block. And the community was that kind of a community. Our kids always used to say, as they attended Marshall High School at that time, that it was a predominantly white high school in terms of pupil population. But there were some Hispanics, there were numerous Asians, and there were a few African Americans.
Now, tell us, I'm going to go back a little bit. If you can tell us a little bit about, you were a very, very successful man in your profession. I think you were the first African American who became a superintendent in LAUSD. Can you tell us just a little bit more about it? And were that kind of like professional people who live in this area?
Well, when I think back on my years as an educator, probably my favorite portion along the way was high school geometry teacher. I loved it. It's just wonderful. Second most came as high school principal at Polytechnic High School. I was fortunate to have just an outstanding faculty, and principals are nice people, and they have an important role to play in any school circumstance, but it's the teachers who make the difference. And I was fortunate, just an outstanding group of people. When I was asked to take a position in the Central Administrative Office, I did so. Did not enjoy the work there as much as I did at the school site level. I used to be chided by some of my colleagues because if I was late getting to work, it was because I was visiting a school. And I did that on occasion because I had to remind myself what kind of business I was in. In the central administrative offices, I was associate superintendent for instruction, and then later became the deputy superintendent of schools.
Now, I understand that people asked you to be the superintendent, wanted you to be the superintendent, but you turned it down. Is
Virginia,
that true?
with whom have you been talking?
Somebody told me that. I bird.
A number of factors. During the period of time I was the deputy superintendent, I had a little heart episode. And my cardiologist told my wife, now, and he was aware of the fact that I had been offered the superintendent. I had been asked if I was interested in the superintendent position. And he told my wife, tell your husband to make a choice between 10 more years as a superintendent, or maybe a little longer. It was a factor.
Okay. Okay, great. So tell us about your friends in the neighborhood. Going back to Silver Lake, you have friends in the neighborhood. What differences do you see between then and now?
Our friends, other than the folks on the block, and I use that phrase, the folks on the block, because I think we became that. It was just a wonderful convergence of people who had similar kinds of values. Beyond that, folks on the block, our acquaintances were primarily focused with the folks in our church. And again, it was a very diverse group of people. And I'm not sure what else how else to describe them.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you remember any neighborhood landmarks or any buildings or physical areas that stand out in your mind?
Well, most of the landmarks are still here. The Franklin Bridge, the little house along Griffith Park Boulevard that has the Disney-like shapes, a little cluster of houses there, and they're still there. Other landmarks I don't
That used to be the Disney Studios, right?
No, they were not Disney Studios, but they were, I think, built by Disney.
For employees.
For the employees,
Yeah.
yeah.
Employees.
Do you ever see any local celebrities, or do we
Besides
have any?
Sam Cooke.
Gosh, don't think so. We were fortunate, a couple of doors down from us, the Clinton family lives. And this is the Clinton family that owned the Clifton's restaurants in Los Angeles. I felt always, in a sense, honored to be close to that neighborhood, that neighbor.
Their name was
Their name is Clifton, but
Clifton.
they owned the
Their name is Clinton, but they own the Clifton restaurants.
That's right.
How
that's
interesting.
Right. Yeah, there were two major restaurants in Los Angeles. And the thing I always remember about them is that during the years of the Depression, no one ever came to the door of Clifton's restaurants that didn't get fed. And the other thing I remember about it, when we were kids during the Depression, the idea of eating out didn't exist. You ate at home. But on the rare occasions, for some reason, and I don't remember why, when we were to eat out, we went to Clifton's cafeteria, because at that time, in the 30s, in downtown Los Angeles, it was one of the few places that would serve African Americans.
Wow.
Sad but true. There were the two Cliftons. One had a tropical theme. My mother would take me there sometimes, and the other one I can't remember because I always wanted to go to the one that looked like a jungle.
That had the brook kind of
Yes.
water? Okay. And like that's one we always went to. And I guess the other one was it was nearby.
Probably it was boring and the kids didn't want to go there because it was an ordinary cafeteria. But I remember the Cliftons very well.
Mm-hmm.
What? Speaking of restaurants, where did you take your family out to eat when you did go out to eat?
When we were here? Oh gosh. What was the name of the place? It was a buffet You went and and you just went here and got this. It's like Hometown Buffet now, but it wasn't called that. Oh, what was the name?
Do you remember where it was? Was it in Atwater?
No.
On Los Feliz Boulevard?
No, it was on Vermont, and it was near City College. Gosh, that's what I remember.
Vaguely, I think I remember what you're talking. It was on the east side of the street.
Something to do with castles and knights and that sort of thing.
It's a chain. Decor. I think it was a chain.
Big
yeah. You never went to the Tam O'Shanter?
No. I know it, not at that time. We didn't get to the Tam O'Shanter until the 1990s. Lovely place.
It's been there a long, long time.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, you love Silver Lake so much. Not only you have your friends in the school, but even some of your kids live in the neighborhood.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Well, our 5 kids are kind of, not too much scattered. Our oldest son lives in Studio City. Our oldest daughter is a physician and lives in a little community called Brattleboro, Vermont. And I always like to mention that because it's the Norman Rockwell kind of place.
Mm-hmm.
Second son lives in Eagle Rock. Peter, the 4th son, lives in Silver Lake. And they love it. They enjoy it so much. And then our youngest daughter, Nancy, commutes between New York and Los Angeles and when in Los Angeles, lives with me.
Great. So if you were going to tell people about, if somebody were looking for a neighborhood and they ask your opinion, what would you tell them about this place? How would you paint a picture of the area for them with the pluses and...
If you're looking for diversity, if you're looking for a community in which you and your children can experience a wide range of encounters with people and places that bring a whole range of cultural kind of experiences to you, Silver Lake's a great place to be. The schools certainly are commendable, beyond commendable. They're good schools in the Silver Lake area. And as a former educator, I'm not trying to say that the other schools are bad. It's just that the Silver Lake schools, I think, enjoy a reputation of being well-grounded, well-staffed, and well-supported by parents and community. If you're looking for a place where, depending on where you work, could be ideal, because it wouldn't be too far from one direction, not too far from a concentration of businesses in another direction.
Glendale, downtown Los Angeles,
downtown Los
Hollywood,
Angeles, Hollywood,
Mid-Wilshire.
Yeah, all of those are convenient.
Even East LA?
Yes,
that's right.
Really it is. Really it is.
That's right, you're close to, and the freeways down.
Yeah, make it very convenient.
It's like people who live in Los Feliz, the other side, they have to go down and then it's harder to get to the freeway. Well, that's fantastic. I think we have, is there anything else that you would like, that you think we haven't mentioned that should be in a video that would depict Silver Lake?
Or your family?
Or your family growing up in the community?
One regret I would have is that you didn't interview my wife, because first of all, she was a family historian. Secondly, she has a much more vivid memory than I. And thirdly, she's beautiful.
Well...
Are we speaking about her in the present tense?
No, my wife died 15 years ago.
I wanted to ask that because you understood that, but I didn't. It sounded like she was just in the other room.
Well, in a way, she is. She was very active. She was organist at Mount Hollywood Church for a while. She was a teacher of Spanish. One of the things she enjoyed most was that in the 1970s, the United School District created a pre-K program for children. And a component of the pre-K program was parent education. And my wife developed a curriculum for Spanish-speaking parents and taught the curriculum. It was used elsewhere. But she always enjoyed that so very, very much.
Wow.
And it's where my
What is her name? What was her name, and where did she teach? And
Her name is Jane Johnson Taylor. She taught at Hollenbeck Junior High at one time. When the children started coming, she stopped teaching day school and taught night school. And at the night school, she taught Spanish. She taught at Dorsey High School. She taught at Jefferson High School. And then when the pre-K program came into operation, why, she devoted her entire time to that, and she loved it. It was from her teaching that I was conditioned to not use the word housewife. When she taught many of these parents, their self-image was not so great because they would tell her in their language, of course, I'm just a housewife. And my wife would say, you are not just a housewife, you are a homemaker. And you are the most important teacher, early teacher in the life of your children. She was just a magnificent person.
oh, that's so great.
And a feminist.
And yeah, that's right. What would she have said? What do you recall her saying when you move into the neighborhood, or what did she like the most about the house or about the community? Is there anything that stands out in your, even if she didn't say it, memories of you seeing her so happy?
I say this not in a boastful way, but in, I think, a very honest and direct way. My wife was such a great counselor that, and this is not to demean in any way other families on the street, but she became kind of the place where the kids would gravitate after school. And maybe it's because she made good cookies. Now that was probably a factor. But I think she fit so beautifully into the street. Eventually, not eventually, about after we'd been here about 10 years, a couple moved across the street. Juana Jimenez Goldstein. And Juana, of course, was Spanish speaking, and she and my wife just had a great relationship. I laugh because Juana was in real estate or something, but if she had to do communication in Spanish, she would bring it to my wife, not because, just to correct the grammar, that sort of thing. But it was a wonderful kind of relationship. And of course, the kids who were in my school and taking Spanish would come with their homework to my wife. She was the premier homemaker and took on that role with great pride.
Oh, how nice. Lucky kids in the neighborhood.
It's a nice tribute to her too, Jim.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, do we have any more questions? Do you have any family photos you could share with us?
Do you want to go back to the dining room?
We'll do that.
I can show the most current family photo.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
There.
We're going to walk towards the home.
Walk toward my orchid.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
All right?
Yeah, and don't look at the camera.
All right.
Camera.
Now I'll point.
Yes.
All right, and tell you what. There's nothing here, but we can see.
Do you do the gardening one?
Well, I like to tell the story this way. We have an old man who does our gardening, and he's really not much of a gardener, but my wife loves him, and so we keep him.
Oh. Wow, that's a big garden too. So are the roses are yours?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Great job.
We are obviously in the backyard of Mr. Taylor's home. This is his rose garden.
I have to confess I've neglected it so much, but I'll show you a case in point.
Okay.
This is a hedge, okay? You see this part's trimmed?
Yeah.
Okay. Years past, when I trimmed this hedge, it was a 3-hour job, maybe less than 3 hours. Now it's a 3-day job. I do a little bit, then I do a little bit, then I do a little bit.
Yeah.
That's the way I do my gardening. A little bit every day. Well, we don't have to do it all on weekends anymore, you know.
That's right.
As retired people.
I've taken the point of view, Bob, I don't rush to do anything.
Absolutely.
You know, they say that it only takes 15 minutes at a time to do stuff.
Yeah.
So
That's
good. Right. And it's a big house to
Yes.
keep up.
It manages to keep itself up. Now we have to go this way because I don't have a front door key. This is my part of the house right here.
Okay.
So I don't need the front door key.
Okay, Virginia, I'm going to turn the camera off.
Okay, yeah.
This is a picture of Jim's father.
William H. Taylor. They called him Mike.
Very nice. Yeah.
Really looks like it.
She looks familiar.
Yeah. Where did she teach school?
Well, the only time she taught day East LA.
You know what?
When she taught adult school.
That's good. The light's okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah, it's fine.
She taught Jefferson High, Dorsey High School. And then when she taught the parent education program, she taught it at virtually every... The parents would bring their kids to the preschool class. The kids would go to the preschool class. And Janie would meet with the adults. And this was a period of, I think, in the session, 14 sessions in the course of the semester. Mm-hmm. And it was one day a week so that she could teach on the week. She usually taught at 3 schools. Mm-hmm. 3 schools in each week.
So she went to...
She traveled, yeah. And she loved it because she was back home by 1 o'clock.
Oh.
And so when Dad came home, dinner was already...
How cool.
It worked out beautifully. We were very grateful.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you have any pictures of you as a kid? Like with your...
Hey, what's this up here?
Well, this is our family, minus absent my wife. How do you want to go in order, chronologically?
Sure.
All right. That is I. Come on. Ronnie is our oldest son. That's Ronnie's wife. Son by wife's first marriage. Son by their marriage. Son and son. Son married a lovely little Chinese girl. I like to tell this story. He was a University of Arizona major in Chinese. After graduating, he went to Taiwan to study additional Chinese, and he taught there. So he met this lovely Taiwanese girl, and so he married her. And when he brought her here, I said to him, now, Andy, tell me how to pronounce your name, because I want to do it perfectly. And he said, her name is Heidi, which is not her Chinese name, but the name she adopted. And so I said, oh, I can pronounce Heidi. That's no problem at all. Okay, that's our oldest, Ronnie. Next comes Carolyn, our daughter, who's a physician.
Wait, point again.
This is Carolyn.
Okay.
She's a physician
I've got
in
glare on
Brattleboro, Vermont.
Major
Right
glare.
behind her is...
No, not from that light from the window. It's okay, I've got her now. Thanks.
Right behind her, our grandson, Alan, who is an engineer of Johns Hopkins and then a master's degree at Cornell. Lives in New York and engineers. Next would be Stephen, who is a composer, writes music for television, movie programs, writes music for cartoons, married to Mary Lou. Their 2 children.
Wait, where's Mary Lou?
Mary Lou is right here.
Okay, I got Mary Lou.
This is Maya, daughter, Justin, a son, and Justin's wife, Michelle. They met in high school and kept going. Then after Stephen comes Peter. And Peter's the Silver Lake resident. His wife is
Point Peter again.
Peter.
Okay.
Carlin, his wife, who is a health educator. Their 2 daughters. Andrea is a sophomore at Stanford, and Allison is a junior in high school.
That's from right to left.
That goes Peter, Carlin, Andrea, Allison.
Okay, got it.
And then we don't want to leave out Nancy, our youngest.
That's who we
Nancy
met
is an
in the
attorney.
backyard.
Nancy is an attorney. Most of her work is New York, but she's out here frequently for working. And
What a family.
I know.
they're a lot of fun.
Impressive family. Okay.
Oh, I did mention Grant, the youngest.
Did we get Grant?
Did we
You
get
don't
Grant?
wanna
We
leave-
didn't
you
get
don't wanna
Grant. I don't
leave
leave Grant out. No.
Whoops.
Yeah, no, you did, because you said it
I
was
think
theirs.
that's
Yeah.
right.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think you got him.
Well, I see.
That story.
Start from the beginning with Justin. And
Justin and Michelle went to the same high school. They were high school sweethearts, so to speak. But it was numerous years after high school that they were to be married. And they were longtime friends. And they came to me and they said, you're going to come to the wedding? I said, of course I'm going to come to the wedding. We want you to marry us. I said, I can't do that. I'm not a minister. Oh, you can. And they told me that all I had to do was to the county office of records. I get through a process that takes about 15 minutes, as I recall, and I signed some papers, and the papers say that for one day, for one occasion, I am licensed to marry. And sure enough, on that one day, for that one occasion, I married him.
Terrific story.
Oh my God.
Oh, I felt honored.
Terrific
Really, I
story. I did you know that?
No, I didn't.
I knew
I had
you
to go all the
could.
way to Downey, to the county office there. But it was, as I say, a very easy experience. We sat down, there were several other people, and they told us something about the law and admonished us that we were authorized to marry one couple or one day and the specific names of the couple. So it was all legitimate.
So everybody is those. I wonder if that still applies. Like everybody has the
It
right.
was only
to,
2 years ago, so I'm sure.
Wow.
I guess it must. Yeah. So I was honored. I say. Yeah. I'm not a minister, but golly, it's fine.
Why do you think they wanted that?
They were both. Neither of them were closely church related, and I guess I was.
And they loved you.
I was the oldest one around. See, so that was.
They admired you very much.
It was a courtesy of age, you see.
I would of maturity.
I like that better. I like that better.
I like to say we're not getting older. We're becoming more mature. Okay.
Okay.
These are wonderful old pictures.
Can you tell us about the pictures?
This is my wife's family. For somebody, because she really had a very illustrious family.
I don't know what's going on
Now,
here.
what is it?
I can't. I'm not getting.
This is
that
my
picture.
father-in-law, and I don't
Okay.
imagine you have enough light.
Let's move them to the light over here. Look.
I don't know what's.
Well, let's see what the hell.
Would you say somebody? That's a story for somebody.
Oh, my wife's family, very illustrious family. Dr. Bunch was my wife's first cousin, and because my wife was the...
Who are these people?
This is the Johnson family. My wife, her older sister, twin sisters, son. The son, Thomas Johnson, was a professor of music at USC, but more importantly, at one point in history, and this would be about the 1980s, he was considered the prime tuba player in the world. Did you ever see the film Jaws?
Yes.
You know the boop, 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 boop. Was Tommy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He was the guy in Jaws. who
This
made the-
this fellow right here.
That's Thomas Johnson. Was
know what's
quite a renowned baritone. The oldest daughter, Marie, became a missionary for the Angeles.
Which is the
Foursquare
oldest daughter
Church.
now?
That's the oldest one, Marie.
Oh, right here. Okay.
Yeah. She, a missionary in Brazil, died in Brazil. The table that we have, the dining room table, the story behind that. When Marie was ill, terminally ill, my wife went to Brazil. And she was in Brazil when Marie died on the occasion of our 25th wedding anniversary. So when she came home, we said, let's do something that is going to live long beyond us. We had gone to Guadalajara the year before, and in one of the shops we saw these beautiful, we thought beautiful, tables with the tile and all that. And she talked with the owner, the craftsman, and he said, well, I send some of my work to California. And he said, actually, there's a person in San Diego that if you go to them and tell them what you want, I'll make it, we'll ship it. That's where it came. Yeah,
That's
and his name is
cool.
in one of the drawers is his name. Yeah,
That's nice.
yeah. But it was a nice experience.
Okay, do you want to tell us about this
Oh, okay.
photograph? We can.
This is our family about 19. Wait a minute. Andrea is 3 years old, so it would be 1990. This would be about 1990. And again, there's the.
This is your wife in the yellow dress.
That's our wife. That's Jane.
And there's
Johnson
your
Taylor.
youngest daughter next to her.
Nancy, then Carolyn. Go over this way. Ronnie, the oldest.
Okay.
Peter, the number 3 son.
Okay. All right. Do that again.
All right. Ronnie, the oldest son.
Okay.
Peter, the number 3
Yes.
son. Carolyn, oldest daughter.
Good.
Nancy, youngest daughter.
Okay.
And Stephen, number 2 son.
He cut his hair
He's lost some of it too.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Now, are these your families? Your wife's family?
That's
Is this
primarily
your
my wife's family.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my wife's family.
What else?
How about who are these?
That's our wedding.
That's you.
Oh,
Oh, there you go.
You said you didn't
So
have
that's
any
you.
pictures.
Okay.
These are great. Okay, I'm going to go in close.
Yeah.
What a
So
handsome
that's
couple.
you. Tell us about that. That's you and your
Yeah,
wedding day.
Boy, does one of your sons is a dead ringer for you, and you're a dead ringer for your dad.
How did you guys meet? You and your wife.
We met through a church group. My wife attended the Lincoln Memorial Congregational Church. We were congregationalists. And we met when we were both 11th graders and struck up an acquaintance. And then we both became seniors. She went to one high school, I went to another. But we went to the senior prom together. We graduated the same year. We entered UCLA the same year. She graduated from UCLA a year ahead of me because I had taken off to go to the Army for a year and a half. And while we were both at UCLA, we became engaged and became married the year I graduated, 49. Yeah.
Wow.
So it was a long time courtship.
Yeah. Good. Okay. Nice.
We're also getting a nice view of your living room down below. Okay, I'm turning the camera.
Okay.
When they did a documentary on Dr. Ralph Bunch, because Janie knew most of the history of his childhood from his birth in Detroit to the time he left Los Angeles when he went to Harvard University. And so she knew all the details, and the producers came and, they took 3 days in interviewing her about him.
Do you have the video?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they gave us a copy of the video that they took. In the documentary, of course, they're just clips of the video, but they gave us the whole, well, I guess it must be about 4 hours.
Oh my God.
Of video.
Nice. Awesome. Well, I think we have it. If at some point you feel like going over any of your older pictures, I mean, and if I'd be happy to come and then go over, you know.
As I look
if you
here,
have
I'm
any.
not quite sure that I've got anything that, in a sense, represents. These certainly were taken in our early time here, but I'm not.
Is this
sure.
you? Oh, no.
That's my wife's family.
Oh.
Her parents.
Or how about this?
Yeah, no,
Your wife's family?
No, these are our family. Well, some of my family, but
This
these
is
are
your
all our
father.
kids. That's my father.
And that's you.
And that is I.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, nice. Get that one.
Jim, and
Oh my
that's Jim's
God.
father. Oh, and here is your father as the mail carrier.
Oh, there you go.
With a little baby in the bag.
Yeah.
Who is the baby?
I don't know. Somebody on my dad's route.
Who is this handsome fellow?
That's my father-in-law, Jane's father, my wife's father.
Look at these styles from the 40s.
Who is this?
That's my wife, and that's when we were living on 2nd Avenue in West Los Angeles, and I can't remember which child that would be, but it would be
One of them.
one of them. Oh no, that would have to be Nancy, because no, it could have been Peter, because we were living there.
This is you with the 4?
No, that's
that's
before.
you.
That's before Nancy.
Who is this?
That's Ronnie. And that's
No, but
Jane's,
the lady.
that's Jane's mother.
Oh.
The grandmother to your kids.
How about this? Who is this?
That is my grandmother.
Oh.
Yeah. Georgia Ponder.
Sweet face. Who's this? Who's the...
That one... Bob, I'm not sure which of them. Wait a minute.
One of yours.
Wait a minute. That's Nancy.
60 to 6. Oh.
That's Nancy. She was born in 1961. My pictures are slipping.
this is you again.
That was when I was at Poly High. Every year they had the senior prom.
Is that
and
Poly in Pasadena, the Polytechnic?
No, that's a different Polytechnic.
Yeah,
There is a Polytechnic High School
within
Pasadena,
LAUSD.
but this is Polytechnic LAUSD,
LAUSD.
which is located.
Very good. You have
This-
a vacation?
Well, I should
your-
continue it. I should go into this myriad of albums he has there, but I didn't.
Name
I kinda
name
lost
your
track.
3 kids right here.
Oh, let's see. That's obviously Peter and Carolyn and Steve, I think. That would have to be at that point in time. Yep. Ronnie, Carolyn, Steve.
First 3 of 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
Builder, I think he built the home for himself, but I understand lived in it for only about 3 years.
House was built in 1927, and you said it was built by the owner,
Uh-huh. It was built by the owner.
and he lived here.
About 3 years, as I understand it, and then sold it to, I think it was the Jenks family, and then there were some other folks after that.
There, that's good. Okay.
That roof was put on in 1970. It's the only way I could explain it. Yeah.
What did you say? Yeah, you look very cute with the flowers.
This is the house where Jim's son Peter lives. Peter Taylor and his wife Coraline. And they are neighbors of Virginia Jimenez, who lives right there.